So one thing I wanted to ask you, you went with a lot of greats, man. Talk to me about Julio Cesar Chavez, even though it was the end of the career. What was it like?
I know you was gonna say that, man.
You know, I gotta ask.
That fight was like it wasn't a grueling fight, but it was a real learning experience. Because I put it to you like this: two things. One, you hear about it a lot, and then as a fighter, you say, "Oh man, it ain't never gonna happen to me," and I'm never gonna. You know how you always get. Well, I don't know. Have you ever boxed?
They ain't go pro like you, but I get in the gym.
But still, even you may know a little bit. It was to the point like I was really pretty much into my career. I mean, like I was done, but I had a little kick in me, and the thing was, I had a guy named Joey Parmello. He's from Philly. He's a promoter. He known me since I was like 13. He watched my career. He actually even tried to who was it? I can't remember what promoter he was with, but I know he tried to get me with the promoter. And as my dad being my dad and him being in my career all my life, he pretty much guided my career to the point where I signed to turn pro with my lawyers, and then I turned and signed with Eddie Woods, and then I got I'm saying promotional deal, but it never happened with main events. But Chavez was about to fight in California, and he needed somebody to fight. I was in that position again, although I was later in my career. And they told me that if I beat the kid that I was getting ready to fight, which was I never forget him because he was a cop from Philly. He was a real tough, rugged guy. And this was a guy. This is kind of when I really knew that the game was how the game was, and I found out about it later. This guy, Tyrone Flucker, was the guy that people would call to fight when they wanted to test where they was really at and if they could get to the next level, which I already been there, but I was still in the game. So they put him on me, and they wanted to see if I could get by him. And if I could get by him, I was going to be able, the promoter was going to be able to give me a shot with Julio Cesar Chavez. They didn't tell me that until I think the week before the fight, that if I got past this guy, I would be able to get a fight with Chavez. So the fight happened with Chavez. What was real interesting about it, we beat him. We wanted to go to camp. We didn't want to stay in Philly. So what happened, Don Turner, who was Evander Holyfield's trainer, had a camp, or he lived out in North Carolina. And let me tell you how crazy this was. We was in North Carolina, man. And you know how we used to have to get to his house? We used to have to take a ferry and go 30 minutes from his house to the city. He had to put his car on the ferry for us to go to the city, to drive in the city. Who?
He got to put your car on a boat?
Yeah, nigga, on a
boat. Hey, man.
And then look, Don Turner was a great trainer, a world time trainer, great trainer with a big background accolade of the fighters that he had and he worked with. And his house, man, his house was so big, man. He had a gym inside his crib. And when we ran, we must have had to run about. His acre house had to be about, oh my God, it was so big. But when we ran from his house to the main road, that was already 4.5 miles getting there by running, not driving. That was running. And then we had to run another 3. Then we had to run another 3 miles. Man, when we used to run at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was about 80 something degrees out there already.
Country miles ain't no joke, man.
What? Man, it was crazy. But the fight with Chavez, man, it was a great fight. Yeah, I was like my mind wanted to be there, but my body wasn't. I fought a great fight. I fought the biggest I ever fought in my career. I was think I was like 147, 150, somewhere around there. Um, Anybody and everybody that's seen the fight will tell you that I respected him too much. I gave him too much respect. But hey, like you said, man, I was fighting a legend. First of all, it was like I stuck my foot in my mouth because when they asked me about the fight and taking the fight, like I said, I'm from Philly. It didn't matter to me about who I was fighting. It didn't matter. But it mattered to me the night of the fight when they said his record. And I'll never forget it, man. This guy was 108 wins with 6 losses. And he had 88 knockouts. I couldn't believe I was standing across from that dude.
Hey, we little starstruck, or it's like, did that didn't up the motivation? Like, I wanna be on that list of the guys that defeated him.
What?
There's only several guys that defeated him, and De La Hoya did it twice. So it's really a number of hands. Not a lot of people could say they beat him. So
yeah, I mean, it was enthusing, and I was really excited about it, man. I really was like eager to fighting because I felt as though that I still had a little more youth in me to do what I needed to do to get by him and get past him. But it didn't matter. That California crowd wasn't letting me do it, man. I'll never forget it when we went out for the ring walk to the corner to get in the ring. Man, we had bottles, we had beer cans, we had soda cups, we had everything thrown at us on our way to the ring. Everything. And I'll never forget it when we walked out to the ring, and after we got to the ring and we was in there and we waited for Chavez to come out. I'll never forget it. Because Zach Pulmolio was the guy who made the fight. He had said to me, he was like, I want you to go out here, man, and give a show, man. And I turned around and I said to him, me and my dad, we was like, yo, if we win this fight, how the hell we gonna get out of here?
Whooping ass and they don't give it to me. Did I cross your mind also?
Well, like I said, once the fight started and we started getting to the mix, I didn't really even think about too much about me beating him and me getting out of there. I didn't even think about me losing the fight. I just knew I was in a fight, and what really made me know that I was in a fight, because I think like I was always a guy that had great defense. I was always a guy with quick hands. So I looked at that as an advantage for me and a disadvantage to him because he was already old. They always tell you and they always say to you about fighters, especially a person like Chavez, Tyson, George Foreman, Roberto Duran, Julian Jackson, all the big knockout guys. They always tell you that when you get older, what goes in a fighter is his mobility, is his reflex, but his power never goes anywhere. And that's how I looked at it. I looked at it. You figured he got 88 knockouts. You figure a lot of his knockouts were probably came from guys that were, as they said, cab drivers, this, that, and other. But then again, many of his knockouts came from him being actually that good. So that was something that I was like kind of worried about, but then again, I wasn't worried about. But I tell you, man, when that Joker hit me with that left hook to the body, never been hit like that before a day in my life, except for when I got hit with that left hook by Gaddy in the 10th round of the first fight. Those are the only two shots that ever like the Chavez shot that hit me to the body, it kind of like paralyzed me. Because when he hit me, it kind of like froze me. When Gaddy hit me with that left hook up in the head, that shit just fucking put me in a whole different atmosphere.